to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to the WC podcast, where we explore workforce development issues in Southern Nevada. Today's episode, we have a special guest from the Workforce Connections Board, Leo Bletnitsky. Welcome, Leo.
Thank you very much, Ivy.
What do you think about our brand new studio?
This is pretty cool. I need one of these in my office.
Right?
I walked in here, I'm like, wait a second. I've been in this part of the building, and it didn't look like this before.
That's right. Well, we're doing this because we think, we have to keep up with the times, and the way people communicate is very different than what it was 5-6 years ago. So who would have known we have our own podcast, but here we are.
You'll be a TikTok star before you know it.
Right? Now, tell me, I know you being on our board, you represent small businesses. One of the main clients of our system, of course, is job seekers. But who hires these job seekers? Small businesses. And so a certain number of our board members are small business owners. You are one. You just went through a rebranding with your company. Tell us why it's important for small businesses to have a voice in the workforce development system. And specifically to you at HTS, why is it important for you to be on the Workforce Connections Board?
Sure. So, in order to stay in business, you have to have two things: customers, and you have to have staff to service those customers, and obviously profit at some point. But we have to have the workers. And what everybody that I work with, all of my clients across the board, their biggest challenge right now is staffing. It's finding qualified people. It's finding people that will actually show up, to serve their customers. And in a lot of cases, those are medical professionals. They're looking for people to service their patients. And it's important both for the whole area, for the whole Southern Nevada region, as well as for those businesses. Because if you can't take care of customers, same thing in a restaurant, if you don't have servers, you can't sell meals. So the types of employees and the availability and the training options are just critical for everything that we're doing.
Yeah, our economy hinges, of course, traditionally we've been hinged on the major industry, which is hospitality, tourism here in Southern Nevada, but more and more our economy is diversifying. We have tech as one of the emerging sectors that need a workforce, healthcare, as you said, even manufacturing here in Southern Nevada. And so we as a system work very hard to make sure those industries have representation on our board. Now, you've been on our board for a few years. What have been some of the accomplishments that perhaps you're most proud of? What are some of the things that you look back and say, I'm glad that we did that?
So across the board, a lot of the initiatives are, kind of near and dear, not necessarily to my business, but just, from being part of the Las Vegas community. So some of the things like the funding for Hope for Prisoners, funding for the reentry programs, as well as all the dislocated workers, the youth. I've got a couple of kids. Luckily, they're out of school at this point. They're in college, but a lot of their peers, not necessarily have been as lucky to have the same resources. So those are the future workers, and anything we can do to help them to be productive, to learn skills that are actually useful, beyond playing video games and doing TikTok videos.
Right. Yeah, we have, as before the pandemic, the labor market was such that jobs were more plentiful than job seekers. And so if you remember, the board and the Leos gave us direction to really try to tap into alternative labor pools. What does that mean? Since the normal labor pool was empty, we had to really look, like you said, at the reentry population, people exiting the penal system that were ready to go back to work, the young population graduating high school or college that new to the workforce. We had to tap into that. The vet population, or even people with disabilities, as we have companies here like Sephora who have high goals of, I think, up to 30-40% of their workforce. They want it to be people with disabilities. So interesting enough, the post-pandemic, if you will, we find ourselves in the same situation, different circumstances of why, but believe it or not, today, again, we have more jobs available than job seekers. And so, again, we continue to push up this way, as you said, of trying to move people from, if you will, dependency on systems to self-sufficiency. So we had several of our board members here already on the podcast. One of them is Guy Martin, who in his construction company was making room, if you will, for our youth that we serve to gain work experience. Because a lot of times our youth has never been on a work site before, especially one with construction. And so he's been housing, if you will, a model that now we hope to replicate in other places. In other words, we want to find more board members that are willing to house youth participants in their company so they can, again, learn what it's like to have a job, work next to an accountant or a tech person or a construction worker. And so besides that, what other ways do you think our board members could bring resources to the work? We have other board members that, for example, in banking, our chair, as you know, Jerry Merritt, brought us flexible funding to help us pay for things that the federal funds can't. What other ways do you think our board members could bring value to our work and help us accomplish the work?
So internship programs definitely are something that, as board members or just, anybody in the community as well can assist with. Regarding additional things, it's, we know what we're looking for. So the employers are the ones that they know what kinds of skills they need. So it's really, that may be an area where the employers and the board members that are employers can actually work with the service providers in order to help guide the types of thing, because training someone in a skill that is where after they perfect the skill they're still not employable, it's a disservice both to federal funds as well as to their own time, and it can demoralize people. So we want to make sure we match people with the things that are needed as well as things that they're suited for. So if let's say cybersecurity may not be the right place for penal reentry program folks because of the high trust types of requirements. And if you're disabled, heavy construction equipment's probably not the place. So it's really matching the people with where they're going to best fit, best as far as the available jobs and their personal skills, their skill sets. If someone doesn't like talking to people, sales positions are probably not the right place for them. So again, we have to find, we have to match those people. It's like it's like Tetris.
Right.
You gotta fit the blocks where they fit.
Yeah, and you just described, I think, the essence of our work, what happens at our one-stop centers and why we have service providers. As you say, the board approves those contracts because the work happens there in the trenches where somebody comes to our system. It could be a displaced homemaker that hasn't, worked because he or she was raising a family, but now they have to re-enter the workforce and they have to go through that skill acquisition process, as you said. And that is different for everybody because, as you described, we're all different. Some of us have physical limitations. Some of us don't like to see blood, and so we don't want to be in the healthcare field. And so you're absolutely right. I think that is the secret sauce, if you will, that happens in our centers where why do we need to pay for career coaches? Because that's the work that needs to happen. People have to be helped, again, transition from not being self-sufficient and independent to actually being part of the tax base, earning an income, and contributing, if you will, as well. So, one of the things that people talked about a lot pre-pandemic was the future of work. Before the pandemic hit, there was all this talk about how automation, robotics, artificial intelligence was going to change the workplace in a decade from now. We were going to have robots, running factories, driving cars. And so there was we got to start planning. But what we found is that this worldwide pandemic has accelerated the future of work because today on the strip, you see robots mixing drinks, dealing cards. The other day I was in one of the hotels and there was little robots delivering sheets up to the rooms for the housekeeping staff. And so it's just everywhere now. You see automation, robotics. Companies are streamlining their operations. It used to be in the airports, you would talk to somebody to check your bags, but now there's a kiosk. And hotels, same thing. Now a lot of the front desk services are being automated. So I would like to hear from you in your industry, in the tech industry and beyond, because you have clients across all industries. What kind of effects do you see with the future of work? What's the impact that those technologies will have on the workplace in the future? So,
there's everything from, doomsday scenarios to, where there's, 10% of the people are employed, everyone else really can't be, to There are new industries that people will flow into. There's a lot of things that AI long term. In the short term, we're not there yet, but in the long term, there's a lot of things. Even people that write code right now, there's if AI gets to the correct place, programmers, for the most part, could be replaced. For the most part, it's the people at the very top are still going to, the top end folks are still going to have to help write the next generation of AI. But the AI itself could potentially, hey, I need an application, I need an app that does these 5 things, and 20 minutes later, you've got an app. That's not science fiction. That is very, very possible. IBM Watson can now diagnose oftentimes medical conditions faster than a physician. Now, would I want, if I was concerned about my health, would I want only a robot doing it right now? No. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I don't know. So the future of work is definitely, it's in flux. Definitely work from home is here to stay. We have a lot of companies that are where everybody's distributed. They may have an office where 2 or 3 people work, and the other 200 are spread across the country and the world. You can now do that. It truly is a global workplace. With the online meetings and the file sharing, and along with that, what's really going to be needed, at least definitely in the next 10, 12, 15, 20 years, is cybersecurity professionals. That's an area where we're seeing a constant, no one can hire enough people for that right now. So those types of positions are in high demand. That may change. Again, all this stuff is completely in flux. And if I had a crystal ball, I'd be on a beach already.
It's fascinating, yeah, because like you said, I have ex-colleagues on the Strip from the hotel industry that tell me the same. You cannot find enough cybersecurity professionals. And we are about to form here in Southern Nevada for the very first time a regional industry sector partnership for each of the 7 industries that we're supposed to be focusing on here. The LVGA released their comprehensive economic development strategy, identifies 7 sectors. One of them, of course, is information and communication technologies. Mm-hmm. And so we are already in the process of forming that. So we'll be reaching out to you so you can attend those meetings and see how you want to contribute or be a part of that effort. But again, it's all about making sure that these needs that you described are being dealt with early enough, because if we wait for young people to graduate high school to learn what cybersecurity is, why aren't we teaching them about those needs in high school, middle school, and elementary? So that's something that this industry sector partnership seeks to address, and we'll be reaching out to you. Hopefully you'll be interested in participating.
Absolutely. And not only that, but if when you're learning, I remember back to school, you're learning things that seem completely useless, and there's no possible value to them when you're a child learning them. If you actually saw where it could be applied, that you have to learn the math in order to be able to, to either write code or investigate cybercrime or those types of things. Now the light bulb goes off, and what may have seemed to be really hard and useless now may still be really hard. But now you have more motivation to actually learn it, because that's a tool you're going to need later on.
That's right. Well, Leo, this has been a fascinating conversation. I appreciate that you came in to do the podcast with us today.
It was a blast.
Thank you. Okay, well, that's it for this episode. We hope to see you in a future one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, well, Leo, thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Our first section is called Your Favorites. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Tell us your favorite food.
Sushi.
Favorite book.
Oh, the Ender Game series.
Your favorite city to visit.
Too many to name. I used to love San Diego. I still like it, but there's so many other places. Playa del Carmen. I mean, Australia, everywhere is awesome. Paris was a lot of fun recently.
Wow, lots of places. Tell us your favorite place to go with your family.
Anything beach related. So anything where we can put some scuba gear on and spend some time underwater.
Very cool. Your favorite musical artist or group?
Boy, I like country. I like rock. just you name it, I probably like it.
All right. Your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday is anytime I don't have to work the holiday. That's my
kind of holiday. All right. That's the first section. The second one is called Tough Choices. Are you ready?
Tough choices. Uh-oh.
Would you rather vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Are you a night person or a morning person?
Depends how late I went to bed the night before.
Is your glass half empty or half full?
It's always half full.
Would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
Boy, I don't even know how to answer that question. I think I'd rather owe a favor, because favor for a friend is still a good thing either way.
There you go. Would you rather live in the city or in the countryside?
I like both, but I do like suburbs / countryside.
Here's my favorite one. Justice or grace?
Boy, I'd probably, in this day and age, I'd have to say justice.
Action or words?
Words are meaningless.
Very good. That's the last one of our tough choices. We're moving on to our last section called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you a few unfinished sentences, and you're going to finish them for me. You ready?
Sure.
Not many people know that Leo likes to
do too many things to list here.
Leo's favorite way to relax is
about 60 feet underwater.
You really like that scuba.
I do.
The best part of living in Southern Nevada is
just the amazing amount of things to do, both outdoor, indoor, shows, restaurants, and close to, airport that'll get you anywhere.
Yes. 3 words that describe Leo are
fun. No, boy.
You're a fun guy.
That's
nothing
hard.
wrong with that. If Leo had to pick a new career, it would be?
Probably be either law enforcement or something in medicine.
Doing the WC podcast with us today was?
A blast.
Well, Leo, I want to thank you for staying over and doing the bonus segment with us.
Absolutely. No, this was great, Harvey.